Saturday to you. I hope you are having an amazing Saturday, an amazing weekend. Holiday weekend. I know you're having a great weekend. My name is Don Terrell, and I want to welcome you to another amazing episode of The Color of Motion, or I like to say, hey, stories come in all shades. And I highlight people of color in diverse backgrounds in the industry of motion graphics, animation, visual effects, cartoons, and comics. This space that I'm just ecstatically crazy about right now. You know the drill. I am super excited to be back. I always miss everybody when I take a short hiatus there. I'm just so happy to be back doing the show. And I know you're going to enjoy this as much as I've been looking forward to doing this as well. You know the drill. Always jump into the comments, say, hey, where you're tuning in from. So, I can give you and show you the love that you so richly deserve. Also, make sure that, you hop on over to the Facebook group community, get plugged in, facebook.com/groups/The Color of Motion. Definitely want you to be a part of the family. We share great information, a lot of fun connecting with other great professionals. So definitely don't want you to miss out on anything for sure. Like I said, I almost feel kind of rusty because, like I said, I get kind of a little rusty when I take this short hiatus. But again, I'm just so excited to be back doing the show and be back with everybody. We got some amazing guests lined up. So I know you're going to enjoy it as well. Make sure that, the shop is open. So, make sure that you hop on over to the shop, thecolormotion.net/swag. Pick you up some swag items. We got some great hoodies, shirts, mugs, constantly putting new things in the store. And, my goal is to see everybody or as many people as I can with some Color of Motion gear. So make sure you hop on over there, pick you up something. My only request is that if you pick up something, snap a quick picture of yourself, shoot it on over to me so that I can share on the show, share as part of the community in the social channels, and just show you some love. So definitely want to see you in some Color of Motion gear as well. So I appreciate that. As always, I always love hearing from all my viewers and everything. So make sure that, you hop on over, connect with me on all my social channels right here. You can find me. Definitely want to hear from you. Let me know, what you might want to see on the show, who you might want me to try and get on the show. Constantly working to get big names on the show and great guests on the show. So definitely want to get some feedback from you. So make sure you follow and connect with me. Like I said, we are here every Saturday afternoon, except when we take a hiatus, every Saturday afternoon, 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, live on the YouTube channel, LinkedIn, the Facebook group, and the website for the show. You can check out the episode and the live show there, live broadcast there. But I always kind of encourage everybody to hop on over to the YouTube channel, subscribe, hit the bell notification, get plugged in, comment, give a thumbs up. That definitely helps the algorithm. And you're always able to check out all the other past great episodes that we've had so far. So youtube.com/Don Terrell. Definitely want to, want you to subscribe, become a part of the family for sure. Like to give a big shout out to this episode, to the sponsor for today's episode, being back in effect, DG Graphics. I appreciate them for always sponsoring the show. They do all the graphics, overlays, animations. They make us look good. So definitely, if you are a business or a brand looking to level up your brand content, clarify your message with some engaging content, make sure you reach out to them for sure because they can definitely help you look good, just like they help us look good as well. So big shout out to DG Graphics for always being a sponsor for the show. Let me hop on over here. Oh man, like I said, it's seems like it's even though it's only a couple of weeks, a few weeks, it seems like it's forever. And I definitely miss all of you. Like I said, we got some big plans for the show. You know, my goal is to always make the show the best I possibly can. Always working to level up the show, and can't do it without you and the great guests that I have on the show. Speaking of which, like I said, I know you are excited for this episode as much as I am. So definitely don't want you to, you know, miss out on anything. So I know you're going to enjoy this episode as much as I've been looking forward to it as well. So without further ado, let's get this party started. Yes, yes, yes. We are back and ready to get rocking and rolling. Man, I'm just so excited about my next guest. He's got a lot of big things planned and just super been looking forward to sitting down talking with him about it. And like I said, I hope you enjoy this as much as I've been looking forward to and ready to enjoy this myself. So without further ado, let's bring out my next guest. He was born and raised in Queens, New York, and is the owner of Gaines Entertainment, an award-winning indie filmmaker for his series A World of Worlds Part 1 and A World of Worlds Rise of the King that you can watch on Apple TV, Tubi, and Amazon. He started GainesCon Film Festival in Las Vegas, a nonprofit organization geared toward providing a space to showcase, educate, and produce independent filmmakers and other various creators whose content lies within the world of action, sci-fi, horror, and fantasy. This involves the support and emphasis on the accurate representation of various ethnic groups and backgrounds within these genres. This will be executed through the use of their annual film festival and various other events throughout the year which will be witnessed simultaneously in person and live streaming. So definitely looking forward to that. Everybody, please help me welcome my very special guest and friend, Mr. Barry Gaines.
Whoa.
Barry.
My man John, what's up? What's happening? I love that intro. That's the best intro I've ever had.
Awesome. Hey, we
I'm a
always say we like to bring our guests on and make them the superstars that they are.
thank you, man.
So appreciate you coming on, brother, and having a fun conversation. I've been looking forward to it ever since we connected, for sure.
Yes, absolutely, man. I mean, you know what? It's just been a blessing to come across your path and just be part of your world, your brand, and at the same time, you assisted my brand as well. So we're not going to say
Definitely.
too much to people, but you will probably going to see both of us together again in the
Oh,
future.
definitely. You guys be looking out because, like I said, I am so looking forward to working with you, doing some stuff with GainesCon. Hopefully, perhaps next year, maybe even live streaming the show from the festival. So, really looking forward to putting some stuff together, having
Yeah,
some fun, and seeing what we can do to really push this industry. Like I said, I was just super excited when we connected. Love what you were doing, and just had to have you on. Sit down, have a great conversation about what you are doing within this space, and really trying to promote diversity within the film industry, specifically action, sci-fi, and horror, which I love, and fantasy, which I love. So definitely looking forward to this conversation for sure. I have to ask, I mean, what kind of got you into filmmaking in the first place? And when did the bug kind of bite you? Was it very early on or what?
yeah, it was. But first, let me say thank you again for having me on, Don. Yeah, I started really young. I was in Rockaway, Queens. A friend of mine back in the days, to show my age now. We had like a Hitachi camera that had like a VCR hanging from your shoulder, and then from there we were just looking at shows and things we saw on TV. And I was 10 years old. A friend of mine was 14. His mother got this video camera, and we just started to film around the house, just crazy things, and it was fun. We still have them now, and as life went on, I really we started to grow and started to really get into film and understand what it's all about. But then after that, I just got the bug. I just love creating. I always was a creator because I was also a DJ too back in the days with the group, and so I was DJing and MCing and all that stuff. But then on the side, I was doing film work with my other buddies. But film was always my number one, and this just film is just more than just showing pictures on the screen. It's about immortalizing your story, immortalizing characters, actually
Yeah,
immortalizing everyone who's involved. So it's almost like capturing history, no matter
yeah.
what it is, and that's what really got me. And I just was a fan ever since, and I just started to create my own.
Yeah, yeah, no, yeah, I totally agree. There's, film is just, there's something about, film and the visual that just really allows you to story tell and really capture the moment of what you do. Well, was there something specifically about this genre that really got you? Because there's a lot of different genres within filmmaking, comedy, drama, all of that, but what was it about action and sci-fi and horror in particular, and fantasy that really grabbed you?
You know, I'm a Gen X, so back in the '80s and '90s, those movies that came on board, even in the '70s when I was young. I mean, it was really the start of new technology when it came to sci-fi and fantasy films. I started with Star Wars.
Yeah.
And I was there. I was 7 years old. I mean, watching
Yeah.
Star Wars. I didn't know what it was, but it was just amazing just watching all of the pretty, the colors running around and hearing all the big booms. And to me, as I got older and still, watching all kinds of films. Don't get me wrong. It's not like I only watch action and
Yeah.
stuff
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
well, but the action films and the sci-fi films, horror and fantasy films always was intriguing to me because I want to know how they did it. Like others, I understand how they did it, but those I want to know how they did it. How you convincing me that this fictional story, these fictional worlds and characters, and these outlandish moments are real, and I believe in them. And that's just the skill level of a writer, the skill level of a director, and I want to know how they did it. So when I started to do my own a little bit on the side, indie, that's when I realized like, wow, there's a lot here. But there's one thing I did notice too. It wasn't many people looking like me.
Yeah.
It didn't stop me. I didn't really think about it as much at all. I
Yeah.
didn't really care. But you get older and stuff, like, you know what? It's been a long time, and there's a lot of people who want to get involved, and it's time to showcase that we like this too. There's a bunch of people of color all around the world that loves this, and not saying that they get pushed back. It's just
Yeah.
it's representation is important. So
Yeah.
I want to I want to contribute to that.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel you there. And it's not that there weren't, filmmakers or creators during that time. It's just those weren't the ones that were the mainstream ones that were getting their projects out there. There's been people of color, both writing and behind the camera, in front of the camera, for a while. But again, those aren't the ones that you necessarily see. So it's really good now, that you're starting to see writers, directors, actors, producers of color now really start to put their own spin, and start to come to the forefront,
Right.
in this space, and industry. Were you, was this your only kind of uh, goal growing up as far as what you wanted to do? Or did you have other aspirations, or did your parents have like other aspirations of what you should be going to school? Did you go to film school, or is this pretty much learning all the filmmaking stuff on the fly and just in the trenches of doing it, or did you go to film school?
Well, initially, I was really into music a lot. I mean, film too on the side, but
Yeah.
I was really into music more. Like I said, I was a DJ. But then I went to music school in Long Island, and I was really just learning how to read music and compose a little bit and things like that. But then, that was really into that. But I always had this love for film on the side, and but music was there. That's how I started. But when I started to, when I decided that, you know what, I really love film, and one reason is because I can create it from scratch. Not saying you can't do it with music, but I wasn't a
Yeah.
full musician. But making a film, I can do that from scratch. I can actually put my hands in and then mold it, and just having that ability, that control, really kind of got me going. And so I went ahead, and being that we started since I was 10 years old and stuff, I don't know everything about like film work and all of the cameras and how
Yeah.
everything worked. But I just went out there and started putting my hands out and just started to film myself. So I'm self-taught. Everyone
Yeah.
out there, I'm self-taught.
Yeah.
So I taught myself how to film, to write, to edit, all that, and I think that's the best school for you.
Yeah.
You can learn all you want, but when you get into the field and that's the real heat, yeah, it's a lot different. So that I always tell a lot of people who go to these schools, there's nothing wrong with that, but understand that they don't teach you how to deal with assholes. They don't teach you how to deal with like time when you're there for 12 hours a day,
Yeah.
for a month. They don't tell you how to deal with these things, and you just have to learn on your own.
Yeah.
And then understand also too how to select your projects, how to select your people. If you're a director for a film, how do you select your crew? Not just going by resumes, but going by the people themselves.
Yeah.
So these things are huge life lessons when it comes down for the industry, and it does sound familiar, right? It sounds like real life. Well, it
Yeah.
is real life. So that's
Yeah.
just another part of life. So that's what I've been doing.
Yeah. No, I think, and if you can't get in, aren't able to get into school or training for it,
Right.
always the next best thing is to actually just get out, start filming your own stuff until you are able to get a more formal education and or on the job training. Like they say, even if you do go to school, it doesn't really, give you the full flavor of what an actual production is going to be like, being
Yeah,
on
really.
set
Yeah,
and
really.
all
Yeah,
the stuff.
exactly.
Yeah, the real world stuff,
Real
you
stuff.
know,
Yeah.
of what it's going to be like. Um, for you, um, like you said, you do a lot of, you do the writing, directing, editing. You got a lot of stuff going on within this space. Is
Yeah.
there one thing that you like more than another, or one thing that is kind of, would you say, your strength, or do you just kind of like doing it all? You find those directors that are, good at a lot of different things. They're good at editing. They're good at, writing. They're good at, directing, that type of thing. But then you find those ones that, are just directors. They don't really get into the writing or
Right.
the editing of it, per se, the actual physical sitting down and editing of it. But is there one discipline that you kind of like doing more than any of the other ones?
That's a good question, and all directors are different. Like you just mentioned, mine. It's hard to say, but if I had to pick one, it would be pre-production. I love just kind of molding the entire story with the actors, with the crewmen, just just discovering things,
Yeah.
new ways to film, color, lighting, um, fleshing out the characters, and actually seeing something that you've written or someone else has written actually come to life in
Yeah.
front of you,
Yeah.
and how someone's portraying that or perceiving the character that you've written or another person or a writer has written, and seeing their take on it and them doing that because now you have a real body inside this character. um, it actually opens up a lot more things. So it's almost like watching a new movie every day. It's
Yeah.
almost like watching a new episode of your favorite show or a new show every day. So if I have to pick one, is pre-production. I really, really enjoy.
Yeah. Yeah. No, like I said, and there's so many, you know, like animations. There's just so many different pieces to filmmaking. What was it that? Well, before I get to that question, like you said, we didn't really see a lot of, directors or films that, portrayed us, and especially in a positive light. Was that something that early on that was really a passion for you, or at what point did you really did it really kind of click with you, or did you start noticing, hey, we need to start, making more spaces and really highlighting, the people that, of color that are out there creating, directing, filmmaking?
Actually, it didn't really hit me hard until not hard, but I didn't really see it the way I see it now until one particular movie that didn't do well. But that crew, that studio gave it a chance, and I love them what they did for it. And it was Predator against Alien,
Oh, okay.
and
Yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah.
what's her name? I'm bad with names, but the actress, you know she is because she's still around today.
Yeah,
She,
Sanaa Lathan.
yeah, that's it. That's
Yeah,
it.
Sanaa Lathan. Yeah, yeah,
Right. She was the star. She was the hero. She was the one that killed the beast.
yeah,
And it's like, yo, look at that. It wasn't like a man, you know what I mean? It was a sister out there whooping ass. And I think when I saw that, it was like, that's good. That's good that they did that. I like that.
yeah,
That was a chance they took, and the movie didn't do so well. But look what they did. They
yeah,
didn't have to. They had a lot of people out there, but they picked her, and she did a damn good job. And
yeah,
she doesn't get the credit for doing that as much as she should. She should have been in a lot of programs. I'm just throwing it out there, guys. A lot of black programs should have been having her on there talking about that, and they didn't.
yeah.
And that's another question and something else that we need to talk about. Because
Yeah.
we got a lot of people out there doing some fantastic things, and I don't see them on these shows. I see everybody else that don't need to be on these shows, and those people need to be on the shows because a lot of people are influenced by them or would be influenced by them if they just had the opportunity to show their faces in their community.
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah, it was definitely not one of the pinnacles of the Predator
Right,
franchise or Alien franchise for sure. But I
right,
did like I enjoyed it. It was enjoyable movie. Of course, like I said, it wasn't like the original or anything
right.
like that, which is I think a fun fact. Of course, the original Predator was played by Peter Peter
Uh,
Hall. Uh,
Peter, yeah, I think
Peter, I want to
Peter.
say Peter Michael Hall or Michael Peter Hall. Forgive me if I get the name messed up. But
I think Peter Hall.
African American
Yeah,
actor that played
Peter
that.
Hall.
Of
Yes.
course, he was hidden behind, of course, a lot of makeup and stuff like that. But I guess if you watch the behind the scenes, but again, that goes to the point of I think if more young people knew that, they would see it as something that's possible for them to want to do if they want to get into acting or, creature acting and whatever it might be. So that's why I feel like it's very important to have representation, to show representation, because it inspires other people that it's possible that you can get out there and do that. For you, is it a conscious effort uh, to highlight or go the indie route as opposed to wanting to be like a mainstream director working on a big budget thing, or is your focus wanting to do more independent style film?
Mm. No, I think a lot of artists can tell you like, hey, listen, if the studio called me, I'm in. So it's not like, we have much of a choice. And we try our best to kind of get our material out there, try to get the eyes that we need on there, maybe to even maybe do it over or get a budget well enough that maybe a studio will pick it up, after we finish it and release it through a distributor or what have you. So, but no, I would love to go as far as I can. I mean, as far as Avatar or bigger. Like,
Yeah,
there's no reason to not do that. And but the indie route is still a great route to be on. And even if I were to get that chance to get a big budget studio behind my work and finish it and everything else, I'll still go back down to indies because of the control and just that just to have that closeness and with the actors and with the crewmen. It's nothing like it. It's like a comedian says, I love large crowds. That's fun, but I really, really love smaller crowds because they're
yeah,
right there looking at me, and that's how I feel too about indie. So,
yeah,
and I think anybody in indie, I mean, like I said before, it's not bad if you want to stay in indie, but
yeah,
I will go as far as I can. So
yeah,
but especially my material is kind of aimed to that. But
yeah,
I'm not there yet. But we're going to do it. So
yeah, and you know, it, ultimately it comes down to the story, and there are a lot of like independent films that the story is just amazing.
mm.
They
Oh
don't.
yeah,
I think we're just kind of jaded or used to those big budget Marvel movies type of things, and just having all the effects and everything. Um, when there are a lot of amazing movies that just are just really small movies that
all right.
may play at independent theaters or not on many screens, but the
Right.
acting, the story, is just done well, for sure.
Yeah.
So what was the I guess the driving force for starting GainesCon in the film festival?
Wow. Yeah. Well, GainesCon really comes from everything I just mentioned prior. I mean, it just added up to that. Where as an indie filmmaker, I want movies that I'm interested in, movies that I like to make, which is the action, sci-fi, fantasy, and horror, have more play in film festivals. Now you got more horror film festivals than any other genre. Well, not any other genre, but next to just the normal genre film festivals. But me myself, I said, you know what? There's a lot of filmmakers I've met. There's a lot of creators I've met, from just comic book artists and visual effects artists and all of that, where they can't get any play because the movies that they worked on don't get into the bigger film festivals just because of the content. And I'm like, it's kind of odd, because just to be quite honest, everyone out there, if you look at the top 12 to 15, hell, you can look at the top 18 movies of all time. They are all sci-fi, fantasy, and horror. There's a reason for that, because those are the films that people want to see, to have fun in. I mean, those are the people that go to the theater with their family and their friends or whatever, and have a great time to visit new worlds, new places, new situations. And that's why those films are number one of all time. There's a reason for that. And I think that people like myself and artists like myself who do these films, who enjoy doing these films of all subject matters, but within the same realm, would like a chance for our work to be shown at the larger film festivals. Now, there are other film festivals around the world that do show the action sci-fi fantasy, and others do. But for you to even be accepted, your film has to have a scope and a budget that you say to yourself, hell, shoot, if I put all this money into it, I just do it myself. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You got people putting out 5 million, 6 million, $10 million into a short, just hoping to get picked up. And I'm like, man, really? That's the only way I'm going to get in? And someone like you and I, who just put a couple of grand with a good story and just watch and give it a chance, they don't want to see it because, well, your production value is not up to par. And, we have standards. And I get the standards, but hey, listen, it's a
Yeah.
lot of independent guys who do what I do. That's why I make GainesCon. GainesCon is going to give all of us, including yourself, Don, a space of your interest where you can actually expose yourself. Because I know I can see people saying, "Hey, listen, I love to be part of this film festival." They'd be like, "Oh, Don, listen, I understand what you're doing, but your subject matter is probably just not what we need right now. But we'll call you." And you get a lot of that, and everyone out there understands how that works and how that feels. And that is why GainesCon. That's why I made it. I said, "No, you know what? I'm your space.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
let's make some noise."
Well, I mean, are excited about this time that we're in now? Because I mean, I think I am, as a creator. This is a great time to be in, because you don't necessarily have to go the big budget route or the big studio route. It's always nice, like you said, but now we have, the tools. And like I said, I'm kind of, I always date myself. I'm pre internet and pre email and all that stuff, so I know what it was like before all of that stuff.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
I love the technology now is so amazing. The software, the tools. We have all these channels now where you don't necessarily have to go. I'm live streaming. People can live stream. They can create their own shows. They
Right.
have YouTube. Are you encouraged about this time now that seems to be putting more of the control in the hands of the creator?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, absolutely. You know what? I'm there with you, Don. I preach that a lot. Especially to the younger generation, but really for everybody. I'm like, this is a great time, because you got to figure that this whole thing of social media and stuff is technically young compared to other inventions. In the world and history, we're pretty much young in this, and we're still learning how to work things, especially when it comes down to movie industry. People still don't get paid what they normally would if they had sold a record or been
Yeah.
in the theater. So they're still trying to work that out. So that's another fight. That's a whole nother story in itself. So yeah, I think it's this is a great time, because we can gather our own audience. And then people who are interested in certain content can finally reach out and see it, and don't have to try to say, well, my country, I can't get it here in my country. They can just go online and see it, and now that's opening up the door and opening up the minds of many people, about how things are told, what is possible, and how they can finally see themselves, may not be in their district or their country, but they can see themselves somewhere else, someone doing the same thing or have the same interests.
Yeah.
And that's why when it comes to my Gaines Cons, it's an international film festival.
Yeah.
And so that's why everybody can just congregate in the same place. And that's what's a great time. What we're doing now is special. So
Yeah.
let's
No, I agree. And my thought is, if you do that, and like I said, you build the following. Trust me, the big studios will come and knocking.
I
You
know,
know,
I know. Yeah, they want to
they're
wait till
doing
you
the
build
same
and
thing
you're
everybody else is doing. They're scouring the internet,
like,
looking to find these creators that are creating films and animations and all sorts of stuff,
right,
because now they know we can go directly to the public if we really want to. If we really have a passion and desire to get our idea out there, a comic book artist can self-publish, an
right,
animator can put their stuff on YouTube. Like you said, there's Tubi, Apple TV. There's so many places now to get your content out there. And trust me, if you're determined enough to do that, and you stick with it, and you build that kind of following of people that really love your content, trust me, the big studios will come a knocking.
and
Um,
you know, and just to add to that, Don, uh, all these streaming sites are just hounding for content.
they're
Like they're
hounding
all
for it.
hounding, right? So if you're a creator right now and you got something, it won't be too hard to get on a streaming platform. Not
Oh,
right now, it doesn't. So
no,
the creator was looking for something, so you can just throw stuff on there. They're like, okay, you got something. Is it good enough? Okay, fine, that's good enough. Just give it to me. Just give it to me.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
they
so use
they
that to
are
your advantage.
they are looking for content for sure, and I'm actually kind of exploring that myself, expanding out into other streaming services like Roku, Tubi, and getting the show out there. So you got so many outlets to get your idea or your thoughts out there. Um, what are your kind of thoughts on some of the I guess up and coming directors that are really starting to I guess starting to blossom. I used to say, especially about the horror, because we were just the drill about the horror. We were the first ones killed off in horror films. So so I was
Yes, there you go.
really excited when Jordan Peele started coming onto the scene
Yes.
and doing what he was doing in the space of horror and kind of sci-fi, because it really, we like horror and we
It's
so
long overdue,
you
for
know
to come out there or a studio or someone to give a brother a chance to tell a good story. It's not like he's the first one. It's just overdue. And
yeah,
but either way, I'm glad that he's out there, and the way that the industry is going with, like, just to answer your question about like the new directors coming out, I'm very happy. I think it's great. And But one thing though they have to keep in mind, what's happening if you start looking at it, is that we are soon going to move away, not move away. Well, soon the big name directors that sell movies are
yeah,
slowly dying with the dinosaurs, unfortunately. And I'm not a big fan of it, but it is the way it is, because right now, as we were talking about prior, opening up the world, people seeing other people's work. Now studios are like, you know what? I don't need to actually hire a big name
yeah,
director. I have someone with the same talent who's hungrier, and I can pay less, and then we can make this great money and make all this money and make this great film. Because if you start looking at it now, think about it. You have not seen. It's rare if you see a movie right now that says from director whatever. It's very rare now. Years ago, that was everything that sold the movie was the director, and
yeah,
then came the actor. You
yeah,
know, Spielberg presents.
yeah.
Dave
John
presents. Goes
John
on.
Carpenter was another big one that put his
Right.
name above
Yeah.
a film.
Alfred Hitchcock
Yeah,
presents.
yeah,
It was always a direct. Now it's not. You rarely see that. Now it's about the actor or just actually the brand. Not even the actor much anymore. Just like the brand. Netflix presents. Disney
yeah,
presents. So now they get into that. So it does open up the doors for all of us guys. Of creators out there to get a chance. To get a nice paycheck, but at the same time, get what we want and finally do what we want at the scale that we always wish to have it at. But at the same time, it's the studio saying, good, I can give you $1 million, while I don't have to worry about giving this guy $20 million, because you, my friend, never seen $1 million in your account ever. So I'm the best thing you ever saw in your life. And that's how they look at it. And say, you know what I mean? You're like, yeah, I never seen $2 million in my account, or $1 million. And they're like, yeah, I know, right? And then they said, well, then go ahead and work. Just keep working. Just keep working. We got you. And that's what they're doing. So think of it this way, real quick. When we watch, like, say, the End Game, Marvel's, End
Yeah,
Game and all that stuff, right? Who's the Russo brothers? Like, the Russo brothers popped out. We didn't know who they were. And they got
yeah,
this huge film. They did a great job. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it was amazing what they did, but they got them on the cheap. You know what I
yeah,
mean? They easily could have went for a larger director. But why? These guys are just as good. You know what I mean? And I could pay them less. So truthfully, guys out there, that's what's going on, and that's why you have to know your worth.
yeah.
And it's just like Don was mentioning before. Hey, you know what? We have the platforms now to do our own thing. So let's
Yeah,
just
yeah. And I'm a big proponent of controlling your own IP, which, like I said, it's great to, you know, get work at a big studio and all of that. But like I said, we're coming up with all these, especially now that so many creators, not just black, but Latino, Asian, African, are coming up with their own stories, and that's why I've said I'm so excited about this time, because now the shift is the power is in the hands of the creator, really.
yes, yeah,
And they have the power to dictate their own ideas and their own stories if if they so choose. Um, and so
mhm,
you see a lot of studios now partnering with independent studios that are creating, their own stories and stuff like that. Like I said, you got Disney now working with African animation studios to
right,
create stuff. So that's why
awesome,
I say you create your own stuff, just keep moving forward. The studios will come because, again, like you said, like the live stream platforms, the studios are hungry for fresh content now, especially when we're tired of seeing the same type of stories that they've always told. So now they're really going out trying to create or trying to bring different various stories to the screen now. So again, the power is in the hands of the creators now, and I'm excited about the crop of writers, the crop of artists,
yeah.
animators, filmmakers that are starting to come up and just do their own thing, and just not be unapologetic, and they're just unapologetic about it and know that they're going to come.
Yeah, because now you can take more of a chance in your story. Like, you don't have
Yeah,
to be safe. There's always a space for it, and studios will give you a space. They won't put you in the theater yet. They probably put it out there, but at least they'll give you a chance. Like, a lot of studios will give you a chance by saying, "Well, let's put it on the streaming service first. Let's
yeah,
see how it works." So it actually benefits everybody,
yeah,
and and it gives you an opportunity, unlike before, where if it's not theater worthy, you ain't getting a chance, brother. You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
so,
But now they see, and especially with I think Ryan Coogler and Black Panther just kind of blew the top off of what they felt, because their whole thing was, as far as black film, they didn't think it would do well outside of the U.S. You know, which is
yeah.
why they don't like banking on black films and this and that. And now you're getting creators and directors and writers like Ryan Coogler that are getting the opportunity to work on some of these big budget movies, and they're just blowing it out the water with the numbers that they're pulling in. So that just opens the door for more creators to start to you know be tapped into.
Right,
But
right.
like I said, I'm a big proponent of, we need to, I think, own our own things now. Um, which I don't know what your thoughts, and I like to hear what your thoughts of um, are on it. And you may or may not be a fan of his content. I mean, I like some of his stuff. There's some of his stuff I don't particularly care for, but I do have the utmost respect for what Tyler Perry has built and
Right.
the way he's built it, and the fact that he owns it and is still
Right.
doing work with major studios, because he took it into account that, hey, I'm creating this. I'm gonna own it, and
And
he
yeah,
built his
I agree.
base.
No,
Yeah.
I agree with you, Don. Yeah, I'm not a fan of always movies and stuff. It's That's not my thing as much, but I do respect the man and what he's doing. My question too with that though is I want to see what he's going to do with it, and this is what I mean.
Yeah.
Every time you see something with our face on it, there's a certain level, and that's as far as it goes.
Yeah.
If you got the power to do it, because everyone else did it, every other studio did it, every other actor and producer has done it, and they're still doing it. I want to see an epic. I don't want to see the average 40, $50 million movie, $80 million movie. I want to see an epic. You got the power, you got the pull, bring it out there. If you're gonna bring like an African film of an African, say for example, a king or whatever, then bring that bitch. If you're
Yeah.
gonna do something with Cleopatra or maybe even someone like Hatshepsut or something, that'd be great to see her. Bring that shit. Don't be bringing an 80, $90 million movie. Bring that $200-300 million movies and spend the money. Show the same way Disney did for Black Panther. It was Disney's money. It wasn't Coogler's money. It was
No, it
Disney's.
wasn't Kugler's money,
Second one, Coogler had enough money to then executive produce a little bit and put a little his cheddar in there. You know what I mean?
yeah.
But the first one was them because they took the chance. But we need to take our own chances. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they hired us because we want to do it, but now we got to take our own chances, use our own money, and make our own epic and create it. So when you look at where the money stops, where the ceiling ends, it ends with us, not someone else, and then and then we're here. You know what I mean? It starts with us. And I think that's what we have to start concentrating on. So that's why when it comes to Perry, like I said, I respect what he's done, especially now buying back BET and buying BET and VH1, owning it. That is all well and good. And I love it. And I have much respect for that. There's nothing I can
Yeah.
say. But the only thing I would say is like, bring like the other ones have. I
Yeah.
want bring it. If you ain't bringing it, then you ain't saying jack because you know why? The kids that are growing up today, the people that look like us are looking at it like, you know what? The only thing we have is Black Panther. We don't have anything bigger than that. Like that, and when you got the power to do that, that's what I'm looking for. So until
Yeah.
then, do
And
this
and and my thing is, it because it doesn't have to be for me. It doesn't have to be a big budget uh, movie like Black Panther or anything. It just has to be a good movie because, like I said, you've seen movies that are small,
right, right,
relatively low budget movies compared to some big blockbusters that they throw the dollars in, but they're great movies because the story is really a good movie. The
right,
director is really good. They got the right actors to act in it and stuff like that. My only thing with, like I said, I'm so happy, Tyler bought BET and VH1 or BET
yeah,
and VH1, right? He got VH1,
yeah, both of them.
BET, both of them. My
Yeah,
only thing is now you've got the space to allow other creatives
right,
to really help other creatives. I'm looking forward to seeing what other people he's gonna bring in and allow to flourish and tell stories. Um,
right,
so people like him, people like Oprah, they have the power, they have the clout, they have obviously have the money.
right,
I'm glad and happy that we're starting to see, and I think that was a trend as rappers and athletes kind of started moving through the industry, started opening up their own studios because they knew they weren't making, they were only getting paid so much. So
right,
they said, okay, let me create a studio to where I own the rights to my own music, can put out my own things. So you're starting to get a lot more affluent people of color that are starting to make money. We just need to start investing in each other and starting to work with each other. That's what I want to see because, like I said, we can talk equity and inclusion. And I thought about this, a little bit. I don't think there's ever really any true equity because there's always going to be somebody that's footing the bill that has the cash
right.
that's the one that's fronting the money,
Hmm.
and the person that has the money, the person that's paying for it, has the ultimate control, because
Right,
they're
and
footing up
that's
the
never going
money.
to end. That's just the hierarchy of life.
Yeah.
You got the parent, and you got the kid. You know, you're
Yeah.
going to have the company, you're going to have to get the employees. I think that for me, I like where, like you're saying, that we have to put our money into it, but we have to make a statement, because they make a statement. Okay, and that's why I was thinking about, like, just be having huge things because of this. For many many years, even probably to now, if you can look it up, if we wanted to do something big, they will say, I don't think, like a quarterback years ago in the NFL, I don't think you don't have the muscle, the mind, nor the patience or intelligence to 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 manage or direct a movie of that size. Understand, a size of a movie says a lot about you as a creator, not just as small, but if you can handle a huge thing, it's not about just, because then you get into another realm and you're going to have other sectors you have to deal with that you others would never deal with. And they'll think that you can't handle that. So, you know what? We're just going to give you a mid level movie. You got a great story. And you may say, well, listen, man, I'd love to have a helicopter on a mountain. Like, no, it'd be better. Just put the helicopter on a building. It's easier to do, and we won't want to spend all that money. So, no, but it makes sense to do this. And that's what they've been doing for many, many years. Do you know that years ago, there was the caption was 30 million was a black, it's not even a woman, but a black man's budget. That's all they would give a black person, no matter what it is. $30 million, and you just deal with it. That was big. And the person who spoke about that was Spike. Spike mentioned that a long time ago, and others did. Anton Fuqua was the only one that really kind of pushed it, and he was pushing for more. He really couldn't. All the
Yeah.
action films that Anton Fuqua did, he was still pushing. He couldn't get any more. But his counterparts, people who are younger than him, maybe less experienced than him, white guys, other people, would just get the money and get to do it what they want, and then we don't. This
Yeah.
is why I press and press, and I'm always at the mountaintop say, Tyler Perry, I want you to do it epic, because they think we cannot do it. They think it's too hard, it's too much involved. You cannot handle a movie that size. That is why we need to make a statement. You got Christopher Nolan now doing a $250 million movie about a guy who created a bomb. Okay, and I'm a big Nolan fan. Don't get me wrong, but why can't we do it? Why
Yeah.
can't you do it at 250? Oh no, you guys are good enough for 130. You guys are good for 100. And that's the statement that you need to make, not just to the studios, but to the world. Because just like most people always think of us in this box, in a lot of situations in life itself, we're always the one, as you know, we have to go 3 times bigger. You know, we always got to do the extra step or whatever. And it's a shame that we always have to do that, and it gets tiring. We've all been doing that all our lives. As long as we have this skin color, it's just hard at times. But like you said, Don, if we get together and say, okay, now we're going to do it ourselves, and we're going to represent what needs to be represented, we need to show that, you know what, we're going to bring something that you didn't even think about. And that is making a statement, because trust me, not saying it's not that hard, but people expect you to go at a certain level. They see a black man, black woman, any in the movie, they're not expecting something like Oppenheimer or Avatar. They're thinking of something like, I don't know, you having a relationship movie, or maybe a mid-level action flick. They're not thinking of John Wick.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about, representation. That is why I say, guys, let's bring the heat. We got it.
Yeah.
So that's what GainesCon represents too, starting from the low end. And if we can help someone climb that mountain to make history, do what Anton Fuqua did. He's the
Yeah.
only one hitting it that hard.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, like I said, and again, I think, Spike's earlier movies, I think She's Gotta Have It. It's probably one of his better movies, you
no,
know.
yeah.
And that was probably his lowest budget movie he's ever done.
Which
It was
one?
his first one.
Oh, yeah,
She's
he's
Gotta
got to
Have
help.
It. Yeah.
That
But it
plus,
was an amazing movie because it was different.
yeah,
It was the characters, the black characters, the story was different. It was presented different, black and white.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
it's always great. Like I said, of course I love a big budget movie.
right.
It's always good, and I think every director, that's kind of their pinnacle. They want they want the dollars to really put into the story that they have in their head, whatever it
Mhm.
may be. But I think just doing it, just getting your idea out there, making your movie, is the way to get to get started. Just because some people can get hang up on, I got to get the money, I got to get the money, I got to get the money to
Oh,
do it.
well, yeah,
Be
yeah,
creative about your idea
right,
and go from there, and you'll
right.
be amazed. Like I said, there's a lot of small budget movies that have, or just movies you hadn't even heard of, that have
Mm.
won awards and just gotten all
Oh,
the
yeah,
accolades, because it was just a well done movie and a well told story. I think now that we got, like I said, the access to tools, we got a lot more affluent people of color that can put the dollars into it. I think, like I said, our issue as a community of blacks is just we're kind of averse to working with each other. We feel like we have to, go outside of trusting each other to put out great work.
right.
And there's a lot of talented, like I said, there's a lot of talented black cinematographers, a lot of black writers, a lot of black great black directors. It's just the talent is out there. They just
Yes.
need the opportunity to tell their story. Now it may not again be on a massive scale of an Antoine Fuqua or a Ryan Coogler, or they may not. It may take them a minute to get to that point. I mean, hell, they all
Oh, yeah.
started.
You're not going to ever get to that point right away. I mean, you
Yeah,
need to
they,
understand what it means to be an indie filmmaker, like how to, like, do everything for nothing.
yeah, and I
Have
think
nothing.
those are the best ones. I mean, even the great white ones like Steven Spielberg. Jaws was an amazing, and it's still a classic.
Right.
And that was probably one of his lower budget movies. I mean, he had a big budget, but compared to what he can do now, it's nowhere near it.
Right.
But
Right.
because he worked with what he had, the
Yeah.
shark wasn't working, the actors were fighting, all that
3,000
stuff.
things. Yeah,
He
exactly.
made it a great movie
Yeah.
because of he was just a great director and turned things around and made it work. So,
Right.
like I
Yeah.
said, I think just the opportunity for a lot of different stories now and told differently than the average gangster or murderer that we're portrayed, or however every other race is stereotyped. I think that's the general thing that I'm excited about seeing is just the average everyday stories. They don't have to be big fantasy budget films, although love those. But you know, we live everyday lives just like everybody else, and I
Right.
think within those, great stories can be found, and just used that way. Are there uh, limitations for you as to what where you're wanting to take? I mean, Comic Con or not Comic Con, GainesCon. I mean,
Uh,
like you said, there's a lot of festivals out there. You got Sundance, you got and you got so many different festivals. A lot of big festivals. What's your end goal for where you're hoping to take GainesCon and wanting to take GainesCon?
I want to take GainesCon to as far as it can go. And the reason for that, because it'll help every independent person that's part of this get get noticed more. So I don't want to kind of keep it at a certain range. I'm like, the whole point of it is to help people grow and get noticed to eyes that normally won't see them or no care to see them. But I'll put people right in the forefront, saying, no, 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 check this guy out, check this woman out. They have talent. I mean, this is some special stuff right here. And that's why it's my job, and what I really get excited for is to grow it as big as I possibly can. If I can grow as big as cans, I will. Like, I don't have limits. There should never be a limit for anything that you do. It's
Yeah,
just a matter of where you're going to start and where you feel you're comfortable. You know what I mean? I mean that you got to get to where you're comfortable. And for me, my comfortability is just continue as is to make sure do my best for everyone that's involved to be noticed. And
yeah,
something to happen, like start their careers. Like our mission statement pretty much begins with, showcase, educate, produce. That is all we are about. within those realms: showcase, educate, and produce. And we're going to showcase everyone's work. We are going to educate people on the industry and everything they want to do, and put them in front of people who can teach them, and maybe just kind of pull them along with them. And then we're going to produce differences, produce people's films. We're going to produce a chance for these artists of all types to be noticed and get out there. So this is what GainesCon is about within this genre, because this, like I mentioned before, it's not about just running around kicking and screaming and stuff like that. It's about everything that's involved to make one of these films. And I want to put in the forefront of a lot of these sectors that make a big difference. For example, stunt men, stunt women, the Stunt Association. You know, the
Yeah.
Oscars has been, people have been trying to convince the Oscars that these guys need a category,
Yeah.
because everything you've seen is incredible. These are real people running around and
Yeah.
dropping and all these things, making the stars look good. They started doing that. I
Well, you
mean,
see how long it took them to
you know?
put animation in the Oscars and just
Oh,
animated
right.
film,
Yeah, right, right.
animated film. So do you,
Yeah,
does that, and that kind of leads me into my next question, as far as like just Hollywood as an institution, how
mm,
hard it is to make change, and like you said, this changing of the guard, so to speak. Do you feel like it's gonna take those kind of old heads moving out and
yeah,
more of the younger crowd and the newer generation coming in to really make these changes of, like I said, recognizing, you know, like you just said, stunt people, recognizing these spaces that should be recognized, whereas before it seems like it just takes this long progression of change in Hollywood, and you're dealing with certain, I want to say, certain types of people, certain feelings, just this
yeah.
mentality of this circle of who we're going to deal with, and who we're going to dole out money to, and who we're going to put, energy into projects with. Like I said, there is this stigma of Hollywood being this kind of bubble.
Yeah, well, I don't think it's really going to change that much. It has changed. Don't get me wrong, but the actual, like the face of what Hollywood is, it's us. We make Hollywood, and Hollywood right now, the studios are, like you said, the changing of the guard, getting the old, putting in the new. Well, I mean, it's happening so fast, some they can't catch up, which is why they're trying to acquire all of these small studios or these movies with the streaming. They kind of like that. Even when it comes down to the music business, they don't even want to see you unless you have a certain amount of followers. You know what I mean? So they want you to do all the work. They always were like that, but now they're really laying back, because now they say, hey, listen, these guys have all the tools. They got everything they need to get themselves known. And when they do, and they do a good job, we'll just scoop them up, because they already did half the work for us. Only we have to do is slap them somewhere online, you know what I mean? And then we just bring it in the bucks. That's how that's working. And with the changing of the guard, the younger people coming into Hollywood, right now, the way it looks, the way the studios are moving, the way I can see it is that these guys have no choice. Like they trying to keep up, so they're hiring people to help them keep up. They can't, because a lot of them are either baby boomers, or maybe the first Gen X's and stuff like that, and they just set in their ways, and they're trying to catch up. And they're like, you know what? It's so fast now, much faster than it was years ago, that we just go into whatever's going to bring us to green. We're going to say yes to, and I think since they always think of that, we as artists need to be the governor. We as artists has to say, no, 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 wait, don't show that, or that's not right to show, or don't cast someone that looks totally different from the actual person you're trying to represent. Like those big things like that. And it's not just the studios doing that. I look at the actors, the performers, the producers, the directors, and the writers. They're responsible for that, because they can easily say, whoa, we're not doing that. Get the right person to represent this person, because they're no longer here with us and they can't defend themselves. Or if they are, they need to look like them. That's another story in itself, but that's one of those things.
Yeah.
So that's why all of us need to take responsibility on how Hollywood runs, on how Hollywood's going to move. It's us. It's not them. So it's they'd say, hey, listen, if you like this, you're buying it, we're going to give it to you. You know what I mean? So unless you tell us, and on top of that, if a certain amount of people say they don't like something, Don, and it doesn't reach that plateau, because they know they have a number. If it doesn't reach that, they don't really care. And I get that. Like if I when I run my GainesCon and I'm like, hey, listen, people, this person didn't like the way we did the award ceremony. I'm like, oh well. Now if 20 people come along and say, B, someone didn't like the way we did the ceremony, I'm like, okay, I gotta listen.
Yeah.
You got to put a standard up there. You got to put, because everyone's not going to like everything you do. They're not.
No.
It's just the way it is. But when it comes to Hollywood, yes, it's us. We need to be the governor. The artists, the actors need to be the governor on this. And I'm really looking at the actors right now, because actors.
And true, that I mean, you would think that, but like I said, for me, obviously, it's a business. And so it comes down to the money. So unless an actor is paying for the movie,
right? Yeah.
Like I said, they can want all they want. It's the person who's footing out the money that's going to decide, well, okay, I want to back this. I want to put $250 million in it, or whatever it is, whatever amount is.
Filmmakers all know that if we get it's like a country. If everyone says no, we don't have a film.
Well, yeah, that's what I said. It's a business. So if they're not, which, like I said, if they're not making money off of it, or if they're not gonna, recoup any money off of it, they're gonna listen to that more than anything else. But that's why I feel like I would hope that more minority-owned studios start to invest in their own. I mean, it's a funny thing, and I want to ask you this as well, because even a black-owned studio or Asian-owned studio or whatever, studio it is, has something that they want to get out.
Right.
Do you think it's still going to be a challenge because we don't own distribution companies?
No, not like it used to be. Why? Because we got more avenues to let out. They can take more chances, like we mentioned before. So they just weren't, the studios is worrying about getting revenue. How many streams can we build? So they'll take chances. And why not? It's not going to cost us much to stream it. It's not going to cost us much to put it here. So why not give it a shot? It may bring in another stream of revenue. So they don't have to be as careful. The only thing only revenue they are careful is of course their largest revenue wherever it is. Is it in the theater or is it on a radio station? Like that's what they're concerned about. But being a studio now, that is why you have all these streaming services and everything else. They can just throw it out there. So I think for us, yeah, it's a great time. Like you mentioned in the beginning, it's a great time because they'll take chances now, because it doesn't cost us much. But you and I, it costs us everything because we're hoping it sticks, and we put so much blood and sweat into creating one thing that we want people to see it, and we're all happy that finally we can get a chance to show our work. If it's not through a studio, even just what we're doing right now, talking, throwing it out there. And I think that's the direction that we all need to take, and I think we all kind of get that. But I think it needs to be spoken more, and especially with our people, having these studios and having the money or whatever, it's not just good enough to be standard. You must you have to have every type. You have to have indie, you have to have mid, and you have to have epic. Like you have to have the whole tier. You know what I mean? You just can't be one or the other. Yeah. But you got to get to that. You got to get, like I said, you got to get to at least to that tier, and then everything else you can kind of work around, because a lot of times, I don't want to watch a big movie. Sometimes I like a nice, small, like right in your face film that just flat, because it makes me feel like I'm right there with them. That's the art of it. And directors have their own art. I mean, Spike Lee had it. That's his thing. He's not worried about big stuff. It's not what he is. It's not, what he does. You know what I mean?
He was always that kind of anti-Hollywood type of director when he started. And he just, like I said, he made his movies. He made movies that he knew wasn't going to be like big budget mainstream studios were going to get behind and push out. But he made them anyway, and obviously because his His content was good.
Right.
People, he had a base of people that loved his work, just like Tyler Perry. Tyler Perry knew his audience
Right.
and knows what that audience was, the audience that built him. You know, the Medea lovers built him, and he knew he had the clout because regardless of whether he went to Sony or any, um, the studios that he's working with now, he
Right.
still knew he always had his base of people and base of fans that loved what he did. So
Right.
that's what, like I said, got him his growth. He knew he was talking to, the church people. And like I said, I loved his plays more than I did, you know,
He's
a
right.
lot
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
his
But
movies.
nothing
I
wrong
like
with
the,
that. I guess there's nothing right because that's what's so great about us. We got so many choices.
yeah.
There's no right or wrong. Either you like it, you don't, whatever. But always understand, no matter what you make out there, there's always enough people for you to make a living on.
Oh,
So
yeah.
your job is just to kind of find them, and Tyler found them.
Yeah.
So, and that was it. And he actually, his movies didn't cost much of anything, and they made a whole lot of money. So he put in $10 million and made 50. He was good. I
Yeah.
mean, on a regular scale, that's nothing.
Yeah.
But on that scale, like, yes, that's good money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm only putting 10 million in this. So it's like, maybe $8 million, and I'm getting 50 or 60. Shoot.
Yeah, yeah. And like I said, his plays were probably even less than that, and they were great plays. And like I said, I saw a couple of his plays and actually loved the Medea plays more than I loved a lot of the. There were a few of the Medea movies that I liked, but
Right.
like I said, I loved his plays. But he just grew from there because, like I said, he just knew who his audience was, and he spoke to them and gave them what they wanted.
Found his
And
audience.
you
Just went
see what
for it.
he's where he's at now, and so that's why, like I said, I hope with what he's building there, he sees the opportunity to give other hungry young writers, directors, you know, people within the industry their opportunity to tell stories because like I said it's we have so many stories and we have so many bases. We just need to start supporting one another and really getting it out there. Um,
Right. Right.
are there directors and for everybody again just joining in? I have to throw it out there because getting caught up in the interview and stuff. I always
Yeah.
like to engage with my audience. Everybody just jumping in and tuning in. We're having an amazing conversation with my friend Barry Gaines, founder of GainesCon Film Festival and Gaines Entertainment, independent action, sci-fi, horror, and fantasy uh, film festival, and filmmaker. And we're going to take a look at some of his work in a little bit here. But who are some of the people that kind of inspire you as a creator and a director that you really enjoy watching their work? And it doesn't necessarily have to be a big, you know, $250 million movie. But who are the directors that you really kind of like their work and like the way they do their films?
Uh, Actually, I like Anton Fuqua. I'm a fan of him for what he's done. James Cameron, Peter Jackson, Michael Bay, love him or hate him, but he's doing it.
Yeah,
There's a lot of memes on him, but anyway. And
yeah,
then you have like Robert Rodriguez. You
yeah.
know,
I haven't
uh,
seen too much of him directing, but I do love his I do love his movies though.
yeah, yeah. He did something that a lot of people don't understand. He did, and he was just so smart. Is that when he made what was it, Spy Kids?
Yeah,
Think about what he did. When this come down to people of color, he made Latinos superheroes for like 4 films, and sold merchandise to every possible person. I mean, everybody
yeah,
had little kid, these little Latinos in their house as action figures.
yeah,
He did that because he knew how to do it. Trust me, he's very conscious about that. And I thought that was amazing. But my favorite director, actually, to go back, is actually probably James Cameron, just because I followed him since I was a kid,
yeah,
and he started as a truck driver, and he taught himself. And when he did his first film, it was taken from him, and it was really a shitty film, and it was called Piranha 2. And
yeah.
the whole thing on that. And then when he said, you know what, I'm just going to do it my damn self, and he did Terminator, and he did Terminator, and he didn't even know how to do effects or anything. He just kind of tried to figure it out, and he just got some guy named Arnold that had really no name, just won some big poker guy, and and nobody wanted him to be that, and he was like, let's try give it a shot, and he just did it. I mean,
Yeah.
in Terminator, those scenes in L.A., like with the cars running, he
Yeah.
had no permit for that. It was guerrilla filming. All that stuff
Guerrilla
was,
filmmaking.
you're watching illegal shots, you know what I mean? And then made history. I love that stuff. I'm like, that's how you did, because that's how I did it. And yeah, I can still do it like
And that's
that.
why I say those usually make the best films for sure. And that's why I love, kind of like I said, the early type of stuff. I'll tell you who's he wasn't necessarily film. He did more TV, but I loved and he's kind of Jordan Peele's kind of, I have him mentioned it. I loved Rod Sterling, and I loved his. You ever,
Oh God,
Twilight
yeah,
Zone?
oh,
That
man.
was such an
Genius,
amazing
genius,
TV show because, like I said, the stories were just so well written and
yeah,
so directed
genius.
so well. So stuff like that is just, it's great. It's great entertainment, and I always find it amazing. Which I always say it comes down to the story, because everything else you get lost in. If the story is great, you don't think about the fact that it's a sci-fi movie or it's just a lot of stuff. You're so engrossed in the characters and the stories, you don't think that it's animation. You're not thinking about it's animation. You're not thinking about all the external stuff. You're just so caught up in the characters and the stories of
And
what's
I
being
mean, and
told.
no, and all stories, really, the base of every story is drama.
Yeah.
Even when it comes to cartoons, everything sits on drama, you know. And and when it comes to our like sci-fi and fantasy, sci-fi I love so much too. I just want to throw it out there to have a chance. I forgot to mention this, is that when you ask me, why I like it so much, is because sci-fi is the only genre, all right, is the only genre that we can put every other genre in and mix it up and make something beautiful. All the other genres cannot do that, but we can. And that's what gives us a lot of flexibility. That's the attraction that I have when it comes down to sci-fi and all that stuff. Is because everything's in it. Love stories, documentary styles, documentary maybe pieces, sectors in the story somewhere. Drama obviously is in there. You could put comic books in there. I mean, comics if you want to. You can actually put, of course, romantic comedies in there. Like every sector can be entered into a sci-fi film. And on top of that, trying to make people believe this, that alone is it draws me. It's just that's the challenge. If I talk about something that you and I did or something my brother did, I mean that's an easy sell. I mean that's you're not really working that hard.
Yeah.
But when you do something that no one like it doesn't exist, but you believe it,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's skill and that's fun and that's the challenge I love, and that's why I love the genre so much, and it's just so challenging. And one of the big things too is just even doing these, just to get back into that real quick, Don, is the physicality, the health that's behind this, and the focus that needs to be with these. Like for example, mental health is a big deal when it comes down to these. Physical health is a big deal when it comes down to these, and just to do any of these, and it's not just the actors; it's the
Yeah.
crewmen. They're going to
Yeah.
have to do that, and it's not like just doing the drama with people wearing shirts running around just talking. It's actually people now are in these really dangerous sets, a lot of time, dangerous situations.
Yeah.
We're making it safe as possible, but it's still
Yeah.
dangerous.
Still,
You know,
still pretty dangerous.
yeah. Either way, pyrotechnic is still real fire.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Or,
So
and you got a lot of these actors or even stunt people doing these crazy, crazy stunts, and it was a terrible, obviously a terrible thing that happened, but it
right,
just shows you the power of what could happen. Alec Baldwin's situation with the prop gun and him killing the
the
was it the
cinematographer.
cinematographer and the direct was it the
No, just the cinematographer.
just the
There was
cinematographer? I think he shot somebody else too. They survived, but just that's what I mean. Just there's still this element of danger,
mhm.
with it. I don't know if it's so much necessary now because you've got the ability to do effects. I know
Right, right,
practical effects are always the best, but of course, in dangerous situations like that, or the possibility of a mistake happening like that.
Yeah,
You didn't
yeah.
really need it
Well,
when
a lot of it, a lot of people are not doing that anymore. They're not doing the whole like actually having to cap anything.
yeah.
A lot of people wouldn't, and they just put the effects in. Now they put the extra money in. Now a lot of people are doing it. I know a director named Scott Windhauser, a good friend of mine, that just did a film, and he has that in his film. Like everyone just has wooden guns,
Yeah.
and even then he doesn't like people to play around or point at each other. That's a set etiquette. Like
Yeah.
don't do that. You almost
Yeah.
fire
Don't
someone.
do that. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
right? So yeah. You're right. You're right. But you know what? I mean, just doing that, man.
So I think
Just
the
doing
element I love about, especially the early days of filmmaking, and that is, they didn't know what they were doing. They were just trying to figure it out. Like when George Lucas made Star Wars,
yeah,
a
yeah,
lot of the stuff and the props, they didn't know how they were going to do it. They just trying to figure it out. Okay,
right.
well, we know what we want, but let's try and figure it out. When Disney was doing, the early animations, it's just this kind of Wild West frontier of trying to figure out how to
Right.
do, something, and
Well,
make it look good.
it's funny you say that, Don. The reason I'm laughing because when you actually like who I like, who I admire, is because of that. Because when my movies are like that. I'm filming things and I have no idea who's going to do it. Like I had no effects guy or anything, so I always think about it and I laugh because I'm like, oh my god, I took a huge test. I got people outside sweating for hours and we're doing all these scenes, and I have no idea how we're going to do this, and everyone's waiting to see the end product, and I'm like, well, you're going to see it, but I have no idea I don't know how we're going to do this, and I'm out there just knocking on people's doors and emailing people. It's just crazy. So anytime people see my movie, just think about that. I had no idea how we was
Yeah,
going to
yeah,
do it.
yeah. And on that note, let's take a quick look at uh, one of Barry's trailers, and then come back and do some more talking. But
Thank
let's
you.
take a quick look here and see some of his work.
So the crystal worked.
It did.
I want you guys to understand. It was my intentions to have our art forms die with us. Never allowing it a chance to be used for evil again.
Do you know what she is? Holding her pledge as the keeper of the storm.
Soon, Syl will have the king's head, and I will have Sophia's corpse on my face.
What is important is who she is guarding. Lord Zahayan Kriyan.
The kings must reclaim their thrones.
Get the fuck out of my way.
This can cause problems in the Alliance, and I do not need to start killing off pieces of my own.
And I promise you, Tenant, we will win this. Blood for blood.
How the fuck can Tenant 5 still be alive again? I thought you killed everyone in Mars, especially her.
We need to end this! We are Razir's protectors. We are not monsters.
No, shit happens, sire.
Yes, it does, doesn't it?
I love it. I love it.
Thank you,
It's
man.
so
Thank you.
amazing. Like I said, I always love, like I said, especially independent, creators and filmmakers, because they have to do, like I said, these, get actors, and working with actors is such a, like I said, interesting thing to watch, because it takes a lot. Like I said, you're managing people, you're managing sets, you're managing the things that come up. For you, obviously, like you said earlier, you would love to get a big budget.
Mhm.
studio comes to you, says, "Okay, I love your idea. We're gonna put $300 million in behind it." Is that,
Yeah.
like I said, obviously with that
Mm.
$300 million comes a lot of weight
Whew. Yeah, it does.
of
Yeah,
making it.
it
Like I
does.
said, there's a lot of responsibility. I mean, you can say it doesn't, but
It does.
obviously it does. I mean, I've never been in a studio, but I do know it's a business. They're wanting it to make money.
If
They're
someone
wanting
gives
it to
you
make
much,
money.
yeah,
So, you
that's
know,
yeah,
you can say you're doing it for you're just doing it for the love of it, but obviously there's a lot of pressure from the
well,
studios.
I tell you something. The fact that people just don't know in the big budget is why I look at that in high regard on anyone that can do those. Because in most productions, right, you get a job to look at what you've done, and people kind of know you. So the studio's kind of like, okay, he's cool. I heard he's kind of cool. When you start getting into those big ones, they scan you like you're gonna work for the FBI. They literally scan your entire life. Everyone that knows you and knows about you, they go in it, they interview them, they interview you, they scan you like anything. That is why when you get to those levels, it's another beast. And that's why they say, oh yeah, we can't do it because it's so much you got to deal with. That's just them looking after you. Then your responsibility is enormous.
Yeah.
So
No,
and just scheduling has to be so perfect, and it's just everything is so large that you kind of like, oh my God, how many people have under me? I said, listen, right now you have 5,600 people working for you. You only know 10 of them. And so if anything happens, it's your fault. I give you an example real quick. In Titanic, James Cameron, in Titanic, everyone got sick because they ate fish, like a bad fish.
yeah.
When that happened, that's when Leonardo DiCaprio went to the hospital, and a lot of people went to the hospital. And when that happened, a lot of people were suing him. That's why he says what he says. They were suing him. They were suing the studio, and then they were suing the actual managers there too, because it was his fault. He hired he just write off like who's going to be like the person who's in charge is like the stage manager or the production manager. They tell you this is who we're going to use or whatever. You say, okay, fine, you sign this.
Yeah.
Your signature is on everything.
Yeah.
So if you say you good with this, I trust you. I trust your opinion, Don. Please, I know I know you as a person. I know you. I trust you. Yeah. I got this, bro. You're my man. You do that, and something happens, and you're like, what happened? Why is this guy fighting? Why is this guy trying to abuse somebody? Like, why didn't you? What did you do? Like, who did you hire? Then when that happens, it doesn't come to them, and then you just say they just have to deal with it. I have to continue my production. No, the studio and everyone says, who's the director?
Yeah.
Oh,
No.
you.
It's,
So yeah,
trust me,
yeah.
wasn't it? Uh, yeah, it was. It was John Landis that got sued for Vic Morrow and the two kids' death on the Twilight Zone, the movie.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
he was the one that was in court,
Right.
being sued. So it's a lot of
It's all about
responsibility.
you, right? And
Yeah.
so, yeah, exactly, man. So that's why people don't understand, man. That's why directors are coming out with their hair frizzed and whatnot, and big black eyes and whatnot, and drooling. They have so much pressure on them. They're like, yo, and that's why actors and everyone else said, nah, I ain't doing that. I'm just gonna act and I'm out. I'm not doing that. That's crazy.
Oh man, but I do love the ones that, like I said, and I guess you find your kind of space or where you're
Yeah.
wanting to go. Like I said, there's a lot of directors or actors that move into directing, or even directors that can handle the big budget, and there are some that would rather stay more the medium, low budget, independent style movies.
Hmm.
You find out what your tolerance is, or where your tolerance kind of
Right.
lies on what you're wanting to deal with. It's
Yeah.
individual thing. For you, what's been kind of the biggest lesson that to this point that you've kind of, or the best advice that you've been given that's kind of served you?
Is patience and listen. Those are the things you really learn when you start to do your own production. Just speaking in the realm of filming, that is patience Yeah, it's just patience, pretty much, and also being honest. I should say that. And the reason I say honesty is really kind of is really relative to telling the story and editing the story, and that's big. And the reason that's a really big deal is because you may film something you love so much and you got to spend so much time on, but when you put everything together, it may not fit the way you thought it was going to fit, but
Yeah.
you stick it in anyway because you felt I did so much and we did so much, people have to see it, and
Yeah.
you're insulting the audience. You're making the audience go through a moment that they don't need to go through. So now you're torturing the audience on something you know shouldn't even be in there.
Yeah.
And your emotions have to be in check. So that's why, like, being patient and just being honest with your work, everything will work out fine. And there's many situations, of course, in history where people, that's why you have like the director's cut, right?
Yeah.
Why you have a director's cut? Because there's a lot of things they filmed, it didn't work out
It
well.
didn't work out well.
It didn't look good. We thought it did, but it didn't look good. And we like, it's got to take it out. And then a lot of times, the actors like, oh my God, we spent so much time on that. Oh my God, and then the PA, everyone's like, oh my God. But we're like, hey, listen, when people watch it, they don't care.
Yeah.
You got to say your audience loves you, but they don't care.
Yeah.
And your job is to entertain them. And that's all they know. And if you do, then you are the best thing since sliced bread. They don't care how you get there, as long as you got there.
Yeah.
And that's why it's patience and just being honest with your work.
Yeah. No, and of course, always on a good piece of advice. Drop some bombs on that.
I like that.
Piece of advice. I think that's the mark of a good director, because, like I said, ultimately, it's what serves the story.
Yes.
It's
and all about the story.
Scene, if you shoot a scene and then you go back and, like you said, as you're putting stuff together, man, it really doesn't fit within, or it doesn't really progress the story. So I can leave it out. So that's why I always find it interesting. Like you said, you're watching the director's cut or the outtakes and stuff like that, and it's like, okay, I can see why they took that out, or left that off on the cutting floor, or decided to cut this and that type of thing. So I think that's the mark of a great director and editor that can sit together and say, no, this doesn't really serve the story of how we're moving this along. So
story first.
Yeah, story first. Again, everybody just tuning in. We've been having an amazing conversation with my man Barry Gaines with GainesCon Film Festival. Like I said, I'm super excited next year when you do it, because I really am looking forward to attending, going.
Yes, we will be. So we'll get into that later.
And really do tell us about what's planned for GainesCon for 2024. You're looking at, because I don't think you're doing it for 2023, right?
No, we're not doing this year. What's happening with GainesCon is that I had two prior, one in Florida, and I had a small one in Vegas last year, just to kind of get my feet wet and everything else. But right now, GainesCon is going through a better transition. And I'm really excited that we're going to be a nonprofit organization that's going to serve underserved communities and independent filmmakers from all around the world within the action, sci-fi, fantasy, and horror genre of all sectors. And it's not just about just the film itself, but what goes behind the film. Everyone that makes these creations fantastic for us to watch. So of course we're going to put the forefront of like stunt performers, visual effects artists, composers, people who make the soundtrack. When it comes down to physical health and mental health, all these things go into these movies because it's so physically demanding and mentally demanding, because it's not something that you're trying to connect with in the real world. You're trying to make something up. So a lot of times it takes a little more brain power. And also too, at the same time, everything around in the set is a little more dangerous to be around, depending what it is. You got blood, you got squibs, whatever, guns or whatever, so that's why I want to put all those people who make these fantastic movies we love so much in the forefront, even when it comes down to, what I want to say too is that we are performers, yes. And we love action movies, yes. But the real action heroes I definitely want to put in the forefront, I want to support wholeheartedly, and we will next year, are our military. They are the real action heroes. And we will be putting them in the forefront as well as part of this. And this is why an action also demonstrates of people just going forward and doing what they want to do. Being diligent and taking action in their lives to make it better, to make it stronger, and to provide for their family or whatever. So action, filmmaking, action, when it comes down to that, GainesCon is all about that, because all of that goes into creating these great films and all this great content. So next year is going to be really fun. We're going to try and make it a 3-day event if we can.
You still having it in Vegas? You still going to have it in Vegas this
Yeah,
year? Or?
right. It would be nice to know where it is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be in Las Vegas. Absolutely.
Awesome.
Las
I
Vegas.
love Las Vegas, baby. I love Las Vegas.
We're going to go to Las Vegas. We're going to do the Las Vegas thing, baby. And action is going to be, and Las Vegas is all about the action. And GainesCon is going to just fit all nice and snugly in there. And it's going to be great. And you know what? I want to do is just contribute to other film festivals and contribute to getting all the independent artists within these genres some light, man, because a lot of these film festivals don't let them in. So we're going to do our part, and we hope that people have fun. It's going to be a great time. So do look out for it. Visit GainesCon.com. GainesCon.
I'm getting ready to throw up all his contact information in a minute there, so you don't have to say,
right.
but we are going to get ready to throw up all his information. But I am super and we talked about this before, Barry. I'm super looking forward to it and being a part of GainesCon, because, like I said, I think it is a very important space for the independent creator that doesn't have or isn't able to get that opportunity to be at, like you said, all these bigger festivals that are out there.
Right.
And it's just a great gateway to getting into a lot more festivals. And I see the potential of how big GainesCon can be.
Oh, boy.
As you do it more and more and get more exposure. That's why I am super down with being a part of it and helping to get that exposure. Like I said, I'm super pumped about live streaming from the event and really having some fun down there.
Oh, okay. We're letting it out. We're letting the snake out the bag.
Letting it out. Hey, I'm looking forward to doing some live streaming down there, live streaming the show from there and the event.
Yes. Everyone
Definitely.
understand Don's going to be there, and we're putting some things together, and he's going to be part of this great event, and we're so happy to have him. I'm very blessed to come across his path, as I mentioned, and just having Don here with his talent to be part of exactly what we're trying to demonstrate. Independent artists with great talent need to be noticed, so we all help each other out.
No, for sure, and because and we had talked about this before. Even though, like I said, it's primarily like almost live action. With what I do, and like I said, I know a lot of independent animators that are doing horror and sci-fi and fantasy, and just infusing that into GainesCon and having a place for independent animators and animated filmmakers that are doing this kind of genre, having a place to go and really put out their content and have a place to get exposed as well. So that's why I'm super excited about it. While I do love live action, I do love live action fantasy, live action horror and sci-fi and all of that, I do also know that there are a lot of amazing animators that are creating some amazing animated films.
Yes.
In sci-fi and horror and fantasy, and that need a place to be able. That's why I do this show, to give creators a platform to get out there. I'm not Joe Rogan, and I'm not big like Joe Rogan. I'm not Oprah Winfrey or
doesn't mean
big
that
ones, big name people out there doing it. But I feel like I do fill a space to get those people that don't necessarily have that opportunity to get in front and show what they're doing and what they're capable of doing. So that's why I love, what you're putting together with GainesCon and want to be a part of it. Like I said, I'm working to be a part of GainesCon, Barry and GainesCon being a part of the Color of Motion show and
Yeah.
sponsoring the show and being a advocate for the show. So those are the type of partnerships, and which is why, like I said, my thing is building a community of people that can work together and build things together. So that's
That's
why I'm super excited. Like I said, this has just been such an amazing time sitting down and talking with you and getting a chance. I know we're going to be talking
Thank you.
more in the future for sure. You guys, you definitely need to connect with me. If you are a filmmaker, animator, this is your genre. This is a great gateway, entryway into getting into film festivals. So make sure that you connect with Barry. He's a great guy. I have, you know,
Thanks.
just a great guy to get connected with, putting together some great things. Definitely make sure you reach out to him. Uh, Find him on all his social platforms. Go to GainesCon Film Festival, GainesCon.com. You can find him. He's on Instagram, Facebook. You can connect with him. Of course, I connected with him on LinkedIn. You can find him there as well. Gaines Entertainment. Make sure you hop on over to all these channels, which will be in the show notes. So
Yes.
make sure that you hop on over to the YouTube channel. If you're just catching part of the show or whatever, catch the show, check out all the links, and you'll be able to connect with Barry for sure. But you definitely, like I said, if you are independent filmmaker looking to really find a great festival to kind of get into, please reach out to Barry because, like I said, I'm looking forward to seeing all the filmmakers out at the festival. Like I said, I'm
I can't wait.
waiting. I
It's gonna
can't
be so
wait.
much fun.
You
It's gonna
know,
be so much fun. You're
like
gonna
I
see
said,
it's gonna be very rare to see something like this, And big thing for us too is diversity is a real big deal with me. That's a
yeah,
major portion of GainesCon. I want everybody that wants to be part of this genre or this just entertainment business in general to please participate, hang out with us. Don's going to be there. So he's going to be interviewing people. And check out his site as well. Obviously, you're looking at it now, but continue watching the guests that he have. All the people of color coming on here that just need a chance and an opportunity for other people to see what they have done, you know, which within a place of style and grace. And Don is a man of true grace
yeah.
and class, and I appreciate that. So
So
everyone, please support my brother.
so appreciate that, Barry, for sure. Like I said, this has just been such a blast having you on. I can't wait to have you back on the show. And I definitely will as GameCon starts to approach. Definitely
Yes,
we'll have you back on the show.
thank you.
To promote that and get that out there and everything. Um, can't thank
Yes,
you enough, Barry. I said this before. I so appreciate, just you connecting with me in the first place and us having the opportunity to build a friendship and really work together and do some stuff together. So it's just been such an honor and such a pleasure having you on the show.
thank you, sir. And I thank you for having me on. I had a blast. It was a good conversation. I love the questions you asked because those are questions that no one asks, and that people need to hear the answer to. Just my opinion, anyway. So, and
I
I'm just
appreciate
curious
that.
about what
It
to
lets me know
say.
I'm getting a little better at the interview.
You're awesome, bro. You're awesome. It was a great conversation. I mean, it was so much fun. I mean, we could talk forever. You know that. We could talk
Oh
for
yeah,
hours.
I
You
can
know.
talk forever on this, and trust me, like I said, I always,
Yeah.
I always say I try and keep it to an hour, but we have already hit 2 hours on this, so I
You know
can
what it
get
is?
long
Like,
winded on it,
we're
man.
talking. We're just vibing, brother. We're just vibing. It just happens.
It
So
goes
yeah,
by quick, man. It goes by quick. But that, like I said, that it gives me the opportunity to have you back on the show. Like I said, you're now a part of the Color of Motion family. You're always welcome to the studio
thank you.
with what you're doing. Anything, like I said, that you're promoting, that GainesCon is promoting, just reach out to me. We're here to really push diversity in this space and in this industry,
Yes.
because that's my passion, is really to push that, to inspire others that their dreams can come true. Just put some work into it, and you'll see the benefits of it.
And we are here for you guys, so please don't be shy. Let's see your
Awesome.
work.
Awesome. Barry, if you could hang out for just 1 second while I close out the show in the green room, I would appreciate it. But everybody, as always, I love my viewers that tune into the show. Like I said, I'm so excited to be back live, back doing the show, ready to get off and running. And we got some great guests lined up for sure. But please, everybody, help me thank my great guest again, Barry, for coming on the show. Barry, I appreciate it. Hang out for just 1 second there, Barry. Guys, gals, this has been a great entry point back into the show and the season. I can't thank my man Barry again for getting this kicked off. Can't thank you, the viewers, enough for always supporting the show and supporting the Color of Motion, what I do, and the guests that I bring on, guests and friends. I like to say friends. I always tell them I don't have guests on, I have my friends on, because I work very hard to build friendships with them that go beyond the show. So I can't thank my friends enough for coming on the show. Can't thank you, the viewers, enough for supporting this and keeping my passion alive, the fire in me alive to continue to do this, and I will. And next week is going to be no exception for sure. Super excited about my next week's guest. Looking forward to having him on, Mr. Duru Azubuike. He is art director and 3D animator with Magic Carpet Studios out of Africa. Another one of my African brothers coming on. Super excited. They've been doing some amazing animation work. Can't wait to have him on the show and share his journey. Africa is blowing up when it comes to animation. I think Mizaki is coming out, I think, next week on Disney Plus. Disney teamed up with, I think, 10 different, it's an anthology of African animators and creators. And so looking forward to watching that. But it's the industry's growing, especially now. Like I said, that's why I'm super excited about this time, because I'm starting to connect and see so many different creators, different people out there getting their stories, their ideas out there. So that's why I love doing this show. I get to meet and connect with so many different people. So make sure that you tune in, because it's going to be another great episode for sure. Well, this has been a great episode. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I've enjoyed doing it. And it's, as always, fun for sure. Can't thank you enough for tuning in and being a part of this show and a part of the episode. I love my fans. I love my viewers. I love my friends and guests that come on the show. So make sure that you are here, same next week, same bat time, same bat channel. You guys have a great holiday weekend, a safe holiday weekend. And if you're in the southern states, stay cool, because we've been getting hit with triple digits the last 2 weeks. So it's been pretty hot. We've been under heat advisory for the last couple of weeks. Stay cool. Have a great holiday. And I will see you, like I said, same bat time, same bat channel next week. Cheers, everybody.